Hello children, welcome to SR Concepts. I am Ravi Verma, and in this video I'm going to teach another topic of your chapter, that is Dalton's atomic theory. The theory which explained the nature of matter in detail, and the theory which was given by British chemist John Dalton. The theory is popularly known as Dalton's atomic theory. Actually, before this theory came, it has been clarified, it has been suggested that the matter is made up of atoms, right? And there were many problems, there were many queries regarding the nature of matter. So to clarify the nature of matter and the nature of atoms, this theory was given by Dalton, who was a British chemist, John Dalton. So the theory was actually based on the laws of chemical combination, and the theory provided an explanation for the law of conservation of mass and the law of definite proportions, which are the two laws of chemical combinations. According to Dalton's atomic theory, all matter, whether an element, a compound, or a mixture, is composed of small particles called atoms. So let's move on to the major points or postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. However, the theory was very broad and written in many pages, but the main points, the main postulates told by Dalton's are summarized here. So the extract of his theory is there in these points. The first point, let us understand one by one. There are actually six postulates given by Dalton in his theory, in his atomic theory of matter. So first postulate is all matter is made up of very tiny particles called atoms, which participate in chemical reactions or chemical combinations. So once again, Dalton confirmed that the matter is made up of very small atoms, and atoms are actually the particles which participate in a chemical reaction. Second postulate, atoms are indivisible particles. So this is very important postulate. In this postulate, uh, he confirmed that the atoms are indivisible, means they cannot be broken down further, and what is written, which cannot be created uh, or destroyed in a chemical reaction. So this second postulate is very important. This postulate explains that the atom can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction, and this is indivisible. So atom is indivisible, it cannot be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. Something this is something similar to, you can see, this is similar to the law of conservation of mass. The law of conservation of mass states that the mass can neither be created nor be destroyed, and here the Dalton is saying that atom can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. So this postulate seems to be based on the law of conservation of mass. So yes, this is right, that this postulate was taken or is based on the law of conservation of mass. Now if we talk about the third postulate, then atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. So by saying this, Dalton actually wanted to say that if we talk about any particular element, then all atoms found in this world will be similar. All atoms of that particular element will be similar in two aspects. One is the mass and the other is its chemical properties. For example, if we talk about element hydrogen, then wherever there are hydrogen atoms, all hydrogen atoms will be similar in its mass and chemical properties. So chemical properties and mass of all hydrogen atoms are similar. In the same way, chemical properties and mass of all iron atoms will also be similar. So this is a very important point, as you can learn here. Now the fourth point was atoms of different elements have different masses and chemical properties. So this is another very important point. The fourth postulate tells that if we talk about two different elements, if we talk about any two different elements, for example one element is hydrogen and the other element is carbon. If we talk about two different elements, he said that all the atoms of different elements are always different in their masses and chemical properties. For example, if we take one hydrogen atom from any source and one carbon atom from any source, in no condition the two atoms will have the same chemical properties or the same masses. They should always have different masses and different chemical properties because they belong to the different elements, means they are atoms of the different elements. So the fourth postulate explains that the atoms of different elements are always different in mass and chemical properties. Now if we talk about the fifth postulate, then what is written: chemicals combine in a ratio of small whole number to form compounds. This is very important and you should understand what is written here. They are saying they always combine in small whole numbers, ratio of small whole numbers to form compounds. For example, he wanted to say, for example, if we take the atoms of hydrogen and the atoms of oxygen, so whenever they combine to make a compound, for example a compound is H2O, right? So they said that the ratio of number of hydrogen atoms and the number of oxygen atoms will always be small whole number ratio, means it will not be in a fraction, it will not be in points, it will be always small whole number ratio between the number of atoms of different elements combining together make a compound. So for example, if we talk about H2O, when atoms of hydrogen combine with atoms of oxygen, so you will see that the ratio between the number of hydrogen and oxygen atom is 2 is to 1, 2 is to 1. So this 2 is to 1 is, you can see, as you can see, is a small whole number ratio. In the same way we talk about glucose molecule or glucose compound C6H12O6. So again the ratio is 6 is to 12 is to 6 equal to 1 is to 2 is to 1. So this is again a small whole number ratio between the number of the atoms of different elements which combined together to make the compound, right? So this postulate, I hope from these two examples is very clear to you, right? Now next we talk about, so this is just like a definition of compound. The definition of compound also says that whenever elements combine together in a fixed proportion, right, they make a compound. Okay, then what is written: the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. Again something similar is written. He said the kind of atoms and the number of atoms are constant in a given compound. He said that if we talk about any compound, for example if we talk about H2O, that is a compound, right? So in this postulate he said that a compound like water will always have the same kind of atoms, that is hydrogen and oxygen will be always there. There will be no carbon or oxygen in water. There will be always hydrogen only and oxygen only. So the types of atoms is always constant in a compound, and also the number of atoms is also constant in a compound. For example, in one molecule of H2O compound there is always two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. So this number of atoms and the kind of atom is always constant in a compound. In the same way we talk about carbon dioxide. Again if we talk about carbon dioxide, so according to Dalton's this sixth postulate, you can say that the carbon dioxide is always made up of carbon and oxygen atoms, and there are always one atom of carbon and two atom of oxygen in one molecule of the compound. of the carbon dioxide compound, right? So this is how the 6 postulates are explained. Now I have collected certain in-text questions based on your previous topics. We have yet learned the law of conservation of mass, the law of constant proportion, and the Dalton's atomic theory. So these questions are actually given on page number 32 of your NCERT textbook, on page number 32 of your NCERT textbook, and these all questions are based on the previous concepts which we have learned. So let's solve these questions first. The first question is, in a chemical reaction 5.3 gram sodium carbonate reacted with 6 gram sodium acetate. The product were 2.2 gram of carbon dioxide, 0.9 gram of water, and 8.2 gram of sodium acetate. Show that these observations are in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. Now the chemical reaction is again given here. Sodium carbonate reacts with acetic acid, produces sodium acetate, carbon dioxide, and water. So these two are the reactants and these three are the products. So dear students, they have given the masses of all these reactants and all these products, and they are asking, is the data in agreement to the law of conservation of mass? So let us check. We know, let us see here, look here, that the mass of sodium carbonate is 5.3 gram, mass of acetic acid is 6 gram, mass of sodium acetate 8.2, mass of carbon dioxide 2.2 gram, and mass of water 0.9 gram. Okay, now if these masses given here, if these masses or this data is in agreement with the law of conservation of mass, then the total mass of reactants should be equal to the total mass of products. So total mass of these reactants should be equal to the total mass of products. Why? Because the law of conservation of mass states that the total mass of reactants must be equal to the total mass of products. So here you can see the total mass of reactants is equal to mass of sodium acetate, right, this one, and mass of acetic acid, this one. That is, the total becomes 11.3 gram. So this is the total mass of reactants. If we talk about total mass of products, then it is the mass of sodium acetate, this one, mass of carbon dioxide, this one, and mass of water 0.9 gram. So the total becomes again 11.3 gram. So here you can see that the total mass of reactants is equal to the total mass of products as given in the data. So here you can see that the data is according to is actually following the law of conservation of mass, because here mass of reactants is equal to mass of products, and this is what the law of conservation of mass states, that the mass of reactants should be equal to the mass of products. So hence the observations are in agreement with the law of conservation of mass. So this is how you will write the answer of this question. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Hydrogen and oxygen combine in a ratio of 1:8 by mass to form water. What mass of oxygen gas would be required to react completely with 3 gram of hydrogen? Alright, so what is given? Actually, we know that hydrogen combines with oxygen to make water. What they are saying, that the ratio between the masses of hydrogen and oxygen is always 1:8 when they combine to make water. Now they are saying, if there is 3 gram hydrogen, how many grams of oxygen should combine here to make water? So here is the solution. We know that hydrogen and oxygen combine in a ratio of 1:8 to make water. This means for every 1 gram of hydrogen, there will be 8 gram of oxygen combined to make water. So in water, if there is 1 gram hydrogen, always there will be 8 gram oxygen. So in the same way, if there will be 2 gram hydrogen, it should be 8 to the 16 gram of oxygen. So if there is so in the same way, what is given here, therefore if there are 3 grams of hydrogen, then the quantity of oxygen should be 3 into 8 equal to 24 gram. So if there are 3 grams of hydrogen and if they need to combine with oxygen to make water, so 24 gram of oxygen will combine with 3 gram of hydrogen to make water, right? To make water. So 3 gram hydrogen plus 24 gram oxygen, they will make water. That means the total amount of water will be 27 gram. So I hope the concept is clear to you. All right. Now another question, which postulate of Dalton's atomic theory is the result of law of conservation of mass? This we have already discussed, that the second postulate of the Dalton's atomic theory is the result of law of conservation of mass. Actually, what is the law of conservation of mass? It states that mass can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. So the postulate of Dalton's atomic theory, which is a result of law of conservation of mass, is that atoms can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. So these two things are similar. Actually, in the law of conservation of mass, this was the mass that can neither be created nor destroyed, and according to Dalton, the mass can neither be created nor be destroyed because the atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. Let's move on to the fourth question. Which postulate of Dalton's atomic theory can explain the law of definite proportions? So this question again, law of definite proportion. Let us first of all look at what is the law of definite proportions. It says that in a chemical substance, the elements are always present in definite proportions by mass. So the postulate of Dalton's atomic theory that can explain the law of definite proportions is that the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. So this is the postulate. The relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. So this postulate is actually the sixth one. The sixth one, here you can see this postulate, the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. This is in agreement with the law of constant proportions or law of definite proportions. So thank you for watching the video. Please write down the notes in your copies. Also note the answers of these questions in your copies. So this was actually important to understand these questions before we proceed on to the next questions, right? So that this is very easy to recall the concepts while you are solving these questions. So this is why I have included these questions in this video. Thank you for watching this video, and please like and subscribe, and also share to your friends and to your known ones, right? If you really like the video. Thank you.